This week's lesson is about background, and we're going to be using our background to study the Gettysburg Address, a speech by Abraham Lincoln. Okay, so what I want you to do is find, what page is it? Page 57 in your text. And we're going to write in the margins, okay? So I'm going to turn my book this way so it's a little easier to fit what I need to fit in the margins, okay? So what I'm going to write is K, I'm going to give it some space, W, L, and H, okay? K, W, L, H. I'm going to draw lines between them there in the margins. K, W, L, H. Now, on this page, I'm going to write everything that I know about Gettysburg, if I know anything about that. I'm going to write about anything I know about the Gettysburg Address, if I know anything about that. And then anything that I know about the author, Abraham Lincoln, okay? So what do I know about these things? Well, I think Gettysburg was a battle. So I'm going to put that under my K because K stands for what I know, okay? So I think, I'm trying to do both of this at the same time. I think Gettysburg was a battle. Okay, so I'm going to write that down, that Gettysburg was a battle. I also know that it's a speech, right? And so I'm guessing address means speech. So I think address equals speech. And that's just from my prior knowledge. These are things that I knew from before. And then I do know some things about Abraham Lincoln. I know he was president. And I know he freed the slaves. I know he was killed or assassinated. And I may know some more things. If I can fit them on here, I'm going to put them on there, okay? But now I'm going to move to my W, and W stands for what I want to know. Okay, so I know, I'm sorry, this is sideways, but I know it's a speech. So I want to know, like, what is he speaking about? And then maybe who is he speaking to? And then most speeches, like, have a message, right? Nobody gets up and talks just to talk. There's some kind of message. So maybe what is the message? Okay. Question mark. Okay, so these are things that I want to know. Now, I want you to pause the video, and I want you to take a minute, and I want you to just read through the text, okay, from beginning to end. Just read through the text. Go ahead and pause now. Okay, if you're back, that means you've read the whole thing. It's not very long, which is good. It's just page 57 and then a tiny bit on 58, so at least Abraham Lincoln was not long-winded, which is good. Yeah, so that's just a little bit. Now what I want you to do is I want you to guess what genre from last week, remember taking those genre notes? What genre do you think that this is? Take a minute, pause the video, and I want you to write the genre right here. All right, now we're going to take a few minutes and I want you to underline any quotes that helped you figure out what that genre was. So take a minute, pause the video, find quotes that helped you figure out that that was the genre. Okay, so if you said that the genre was an argumentative genre, you are correct. All speeches are argumentative because someone took a side, even if they have facts in them, they're going to make some kind of claim and they're going to want you to make a decision too. Okay, so let's read through this together and see if we can figure out what Abraham Lincoln wants us to do. It says, 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives at that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. Okay, so I've learned some things. That's some things I'm going to put in the L. I have learned that this is during the Civil War. Okay, and I'm going to mark over here where I found that, okay? We are in a great civil war. Engaged in a great civil war. Okay? And I know where he's giving the speech at. We are met on a great battlefield. So Gettysburg was a battle. Yay! I could maybe even just check mark that. Yep, I know that. Okay? For sure now. It was a battlefield. Okay? What else did I learn?
Mama.
Wait, baby. Oh, they're dedicating a portion of the field as a resting place. What does it mean to be a resting place? A grave, right? So, because the people gave their lives that nation might live, okay? So I've learned now that this is going to be kind of a memorial. All right. So now we turn the page and we read the rest of the speech.
Mama.
Hush, baby. Okay, it says, but in a larger sense, we cannot it's blurry. We cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. Hush, Jake. Shh. The brave men living and dead who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Stop, Jakey. Okay? All right, so what have we learned from this? Okay? We have learned that... Oh, and my ink is smeared a little. We have learned that we cannot forget, right? That's kind of the message he's saying. We can't forget that these men fought and died so that we could be one union, right? So we cannot forget the union. All right, now in this last column, we're going to decide how we came up with these things, okay? Did we just know them already? Did we have to look them up? Did we have to make an inference or an educated guess? So how did we know it was a civil war? Well, remember, we actually underlined that. So it was in the text. So I'm going to write text next to that. How did we know it was a memorial? Well, he talked down here about how people gave their lives, that it's a resting place, remember? But did he actually say the word memorial? No, he didn't. We inferred that. It's an inference.
I got it.
Okay, all right. Shh. Now, the message is that we can't forget that we need to be a union, that one nation under God peace. Now, the text gave us some hints. If we look on the next page, you can go back. But did it actually tell us that we shouldn't forget? Or did it just give us lots of examples of why we shouldn't forget? It kind of gave us a lot of examples, right? So this was also more of an inference.
Can I be in the video?
You're already in the video because you're talking. All right, so that is how you do a KWLH. which is our background comprehension skill that we will
And what
need.
sometimes.
That we will need for any and all texts that we read from now on.